Saturday, September 9th, Cage Thunder 23 presents Andrew Law versus Julian Lane.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Rubber City Throwdown. I am Norm, I am your host. With me, we have, as always, Alex Henry.
What's going on, MMA people, fans, likewise?
Today, we're going to be talking about a few things card rundown, a couple updates, future events, and, we'll give a couple minutes here, let some people trickle on in, and go ahead and feel free to chat with us, post in the comments. We'll be able to see them. Tell me I'm fat. I don't care. Let us know how our audio is. It's too loud. If it's not loud enough, you know, let us know. Uh, so yeah, first thing I want to touch on real quick. We're gonna get some of this small stuff out of the way. So we're looking at scams, people. There is a lot of scams going on as far as the pay per view goes, man. Some of you guys are getting friend requests and from fake profiles. Actually, if you take a look at them, if you click on them and do your research, they look like fighters, and they're not fighters. I know Curtis Miranda is one of the guys. Lewis something is another one. They're using photography taken from Andy, our photographer, as looks like a fighter profile, um, and then when they're literally taking every single picture from the Cage Thunder page and they're putting it up there. An easy way to figure it out if they're scammers is if you go to their the actual profile and you look at the about, it'll say like from Akron, and then works at Chaparral's Community Center, and that's how you know that it's basically all the information that they're gonna give you. They're usually scams, and what they'll do is come fight day, they're gonna tag like the maximum amount of people that they can tag, and they're going to give out false pay per view
Lot.
links.
Yep. They're gonna tag you. They're gonna tag you. They're gonna tag your family. They're gonna tag your friends. I don't know, and they're getting better and better too. So honestly, you just gotta know the ticket link is cagethundermma.com. You go there, you'll find that pay-per-view link and ticket link there. You're not gonna find it anywhere else.
Yeah, they're getting better. They are
Yeah.
getting better at doing it. They went from just botting the page, and then once we actually combated that and we started blocking bots and made it so people couldn't post links without being approved by an admin, they started making fake Cage Thunder pages. And then when we started blocking and reporting those, they started making fake profiles. And guys, there's always one. There's always one person that gets caught with it. That right in the middle of a pay per view, I get a phone call about someone who got scammed. So just be on the lookout for that. Again, the website is right there. If you look at the bottom right hand side, cagethundermma.com. You go to the main homepage of the website. At the top on the menu bar, you'll see pay per view live stream. That is where you buy it. If it says like fight dash live TV or some shit, that's not right. So just be aware of that and the potential scams. Moving on, because it is fight week, so it's going to get really bad. Future shows, future fights, future events coming up. We've got a potential. I mean, obviously, this weekend we've got Caged Thunder 23. Um, yeah, you're right, Jessica. The real one should have over a couple thousand followers. Um, but yeah, obviously, we have Caged Thunder 23 this upcoming weekend here in Akron, Ohio, at the Chaparral's uh, Bingo Hall or Chaparral's Community Center. Main event is Julian Lane versus Andrew Law. It is going to be a banger. Actually, a very big fight. Um, yeah, big fight for the type of card that it is. Typically you don't see a fight of this magnitude, I guess, just on a normal Chaparral's
hmm
pro-am, So it's definitely a fight that I personally would have loved to see in December at the Canton Civic Center. But if the fight does well, we're going to
hmm
see one of these two fighters, if not both fighters, back in December at the Canton Civic Center. That being said, we have December. Canton Civic Center is the biggest show that Cage Thunder has ever attempted to put on. I mean, we're talking about like 3,500 seats available here in Canton, and It's I mean, live pay-per-view. I think they got to go through Ticketmaster instead of our typical ticket leap. But because a lot of fighters unfortunately are not able to get on that December card, we are potentially talking about having another show in November.
Correct.
Actually,
Right
so
here.
fighters, be on the lookout for that. We haven't quite made up our mind yet, but it is very realistically in the talks about having a potential November show. I really hope that we can make that happen. Want to take a quick, shout out to the sponsors: Bud Light, Detailed Image and Design, Crow's Auto Body, Mr. Drywall, Ida's Cafe, National Beauty College, Rubber City Production, what up? Big Dog Boxing, and our newest sponsor, Commercial Cleaning Enterprises. We're going to get their logo put up on this overlay soon, and I promise you that. We're going to try to keep this card rundown, short and sweet. There's a lot of guys who are making their debut, a lot of independent, a lot of guys that we just don't know yet. So, honestly, we're going to kind of skip over that until they give us a reason to talk about it, to be honest, because we just don't know anything about them. They have no fight record. We don't know what camp they're training at. We essentially don't know a lot of what's going on, but there are a few highlight amateur fights, and hell, even some highlight amateur debuts that we actually are going to talk about as well. But we don't want this to turn into a 2 or 3 hour podcast. We've got some, we got some local guys fighting tonight. We actually got, local Ohio fighter Dylan Booker, who is making his, I don't want to say his UFC debut, but he's fighting for the
Fighting for the contract.
Yeah, 100% fighting for the UFC contendership contract. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how he does there, because I truly believe that he deserves it, and I think that he's going to go far. He's a good fighter.
And look, if we don't talk about you tonight, we'll definitely talk about you after the show. Once we have something to talk about, once we see you fight, you make that awesome debut or that miserable debut, we're gonna talk about it then. So.
Oh yeah, we're definitely gonna talk about you, whether you like it or not. But we wanna focus on the professionals, and we want to talk about the highlighted amateur fighters that are jumping in here, and let's get to it, man. Dylan, what's going on, buddy? So what we want to start with? Let's talk about Matt Dugan and Malcolm Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about this fight a little bit.
I'd love to. Yeah, I mean, this fight, I think the biggest thing is both of these guys took this fight on, well, I'm not sure if I want to call it short notice, but not a lot of rest time in between. I mean, both of these guys just fought 3 weeks ago at Cage Thunder 22. Malcolm coming out with a win, and Matt coming off his first loss in about a year. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. Second thing is I'm almost positive this is going to be at like 145 or 150. So Malcolm is like moving up a significant amount of weight. So it'll be really interesting, because I've always said with Malcolm that he has super fast hands, but often, with bantamweights, they're not going to be as strong as a heavyweight, for example. But I think we saw even with Branson moving up last time, he was so much stronger. Luke talking about how much more, how those shots hurt. More than some of the shots he's ever taken before. So I expect to see Malcolm a lot stronger, and I expect to see Matt Dugan come with a lot of vengeance. He was on a hot streak, lost, and I think he's coming back really. I mean, these guys both want gold eventually, so they both have that in the future.
Yeah, I'm really curious. Yeah, you're right. The dwell time, the dwell time between both fighters is very short. And I mean, you got, if you wanted to, you want to judge this fight based off momentum. Who's got the momentum right now? Malcolm Jackson has it. He just won. Matt Dugan is looking for a fight where I really hope he's looking for a fight. He's not looking for a rebound. Sorry, I hope he's not looking for a rebound fight, because he's not going to get that in Malcolm Jackson. Malcolm Jackson is a good fighter. He's deceivingly good, actually.
Correct.
And this is a Malcolm Jackson that I mean, I don't think he's actively training. Like, he's not training the way that he's supposed to be training. And that's not a diss to him. I'm just saying, like, Malcolm Jackson is deceivingly good for somebody who doesn't train how he's supposed to train. And, you know, but Matt Dugan, and I mean, Matt Dugan is projected actually to win is 86% chance. That's, I mean, granted, it is Tapology,
Tapology, right?
friggin' Tapology, you know, it's the votes, but still, he's got an 86% chance voted that he's going to win. And I'm actually kind of curious to see how the Instagram votes are going to do when
Sure.
if you are still planning on doing that
Correct.
live during the show. I really did.
It's
enjoy
fun.
That.
It's
yeah.
fun. It is kind of fun. And the other thing I would say with Matt to worry about is, Matt's a great wrestler. He's a great wrestler. He's won a lot of fights, with his wrestling. Malcolm wrestled for 3 rounds straight in his last fight, and it was very good. Something that, we had seen him have to deal with wrestlers like Lucas Siebert, where he had done, decent versus a D1 wrestler. But now Matt's going to have to take into consideration not only that he's a faster, stronger striker this time around. Maybe he loses some speed. I don't think he does, but perhaps. And then also the wrestling threat. So, yeah, it'll be an interesting fight for both guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely one of the. It is definitely one of the, one of the amateur highlight fights that, at least on my list, that is going on. I always enjoy watching Malcolm Jackson and Matt Dugan fight. Let's move up. Let's talk about. I want to talk about Reese Franks and Tevin Turner. Reese Franks, I've had the opportunity to train with him at Victory a little bit, and he's definitely a very talented ground fighter. And from what I've heard, Tevin Turner at Apex is a very decent or talented wrestler. Unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to train with Turner, and I haven't really had an opportunity to kind of like inspect him, I guess, like to see what he's all about.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't popped into Apex in a minute. Hell, I haven't popped into Victory in a minute. It's been a couple months. But I have spoken to Apex's head coach, Brian, and he agreed with me as well. It's definitely looking like it's going to be a ground war. I really do. I think it's going to be a jiu-jitsu versus a wrestler. And sometimes when you have, these guys are both making their debut, when you have two guys, a talented jiu-jitsu artist and a talented wrestler, sometimes it just turns into a stalemate. So this might actually turn into a stand-up battle until somebody decides to take it to the ground.
Correct.
I do know that Reese has been training. I mean, this isn't something that he just got into last month and decided to take a fight. This is something that he has been training for I want to say over a year now. He has been consistently training, and I have seen him train, and I have had the opportunity to roll with him a couple times at Victory, and I have seen him train with other guys who are heavier than him. And he's training with guys like Luke McMurtry and Devin Watkins, and he's doing very well on the ground against guys like this. So I'm really, really curious to see how different they are. And I know Reese is kind of like I want to say he's a taller, skinnier, and I think Tevin Turner looks
jacked.
Yeah, he looks jacked. He looks ripped. He looks stocky. He looks strong. So I'm really curious to see how this fight is going to go. And this is why this was the I don't know what you want to call it. We can create a new segment called Jackhammer Highlights. I don't know. We'll come up with something, right?
Yeah, I like it.
We'll focus on it. It's my Jackhammer amateur fight of the week. We'll see. This is definitely one that I'm really interested in watching for sure.
Yeah, and shout out to Apex. Apex. That's the little Apex thing they do. The little Apex thing they do. It's cool. But they must have took my comments personal. Because I had said that I look at their gym as more of a striking gym. No disrespect by that at all. Of course. Not discrediting the ground game, but recently these Apex fighters on other cards as well as past Cage Thunder cards, they're going for submissions and they're going for holds and locks, and and whatnot. So I respect that. Love to see it. So yeah, it'll be interesting if you're saying this fight does go on the ground, just to see where it goes. And Tevin, if this is right, he's 18, about to be 19, but he's young.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's I always like a young fighter. You know, you looked at Devin Watkins, for example, made his debut at 18 freshly. Now he's fighting for a belt a year or about 2 years later. So it's cool.
No, yeah, 100%. Moving up, another amateur highlight fight that I want to talk about is Connor fought and Kobe Nichols. Kobe Nichols actually making his debut. He's unranked, and Connor he's 1-0. He won in pretty convincing fashion.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's got a lot of hype behind him.
No doubt.
He definitely has a lot of hype behind him. I didn't realize how much hype he had until he fought and made his debut in Cage Thunder. I want to say it was Cage Thunder 21 is when he made his debut, when he fought Jordan Gibson, and he won by first round guillotine choke. So definitely a lot of hype around him. He is a ripped kid. He's got a fantastic mullet, which I always enjoy.
I do like it.
I love a good mullet, right? And then, but yeah, a lot of hype. I guess he's a really good ground guy. I had an opportunity to talk with his corner and talk with his coaches. I believe, oh my God, these people are going to kill me. I know they are. Is it Manchek? It's Manchek Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy, I believe, is where he's training. And I've actually, I've trained a little bit with Manchek at Waterhouse Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy as well.
Gotcha.
He definitely knows what he's doing. He has a great group of guys as far as like his jiu-jitsu goes. So I definitely expect Connor to try to get this fight to the ground. And again, I don't know who Kobe Nichols is. He's making his debut. There's no information on Tapology. I want to get to know this guy. I can't wait to to get the interview with him and talk to him a little bit at weigh-ins and get an idea of how this guy's going to come out, man. I'm really looking forward to it. So.
Yeah, and hey, shout out Connor Font. Nothing to really necessarily do with fighter, but I mean, he brands himself very well. He makes merch. He sells the merch. He's active promoting his fights on social media, and honestly, that is huge. I mean, the promotion, not just our promotion, many promotions look at that stuff. We really do. It's not the know-all, say-all of how we decide who we have on the card, of course, but it is important. So I like to see that as well. And they're funny designs, cool designs sometimes. So he's got the name, Connor Fought. I mean, fought. So it works so good.
This next fighter, you went to school with this guy, right? Matt Brown.
Matt Brown, yeah, Matt Brown.
I've been hearing some good things about Matt Brown out of Apex, man. Like, I've got the opportunity to spar with him a little bit, or at least see him spar. I've seen him train. You went to school with him. Did he wrestle? I mean,
yeah. So it was weird.
Give us the 411, man.
Matt. It's like, I'll be honest. I don't know if he liked me in high school or not. I have no clue if he liked me in high school. It's not like we were really friends. I was kind of loud. He was kind of quiet. So it was like, I don't know. But he did try to wrestle a little bit. I remember we had kind of wrestled a couple times, I think. And it was so hard for him at that point because Green's getting a new coach and he was butt. And then he had never wrestled before. So, coming into high school wrestling with guys who have wrestled long. And then I remember he took an injury his senior year and he didn't end up wrestling at all. But he started training like right after high school in terms of like lifting. He's real big now. And then he reached out to me about a year ago asking, hey, where should I train? I gave him a bunch of gyms. So don't think I didn't just give him one gym. I gave him a bunch. He picked Apex and he's been training there. And yeah, he's excited to fight. I know he's been trying to fight for a while too, which is good because that shows that he's probably constantly training.
Yeah, he probably disliked you in high school, if we're being honest.
Yeah,
I'm
gonna be honest.
Matt, if you're listening and you're watching this right now, please comment and let us know. Let me know how much you hated Alex in high school.
Me and Matt are cool now, but I don't know if he liked me in high school or not. I have no clue.
Moving up in our vacant lightweight championship, we've got Devin Watkins and Mike LaFay. This is going to be a banger, man, but it's going to go to the ground. Mike LaFay, I've been watching him for a little bit. I definitely see this fight going to the ground. Devin Watkins is a strong wrestler, and he's a strong striker. Michael Fay is a good jiu-jitsu guy, but don't get it wrong. Devin Watkins has good jiu-jitsu as well, man. Um, this is going to be a difficult one to put my thumb on, man. This is going to be a good fight. This is a good championship fight, man. Michael Fay is not someone to take lightly. But right back to Devin, dude. He's just as dangerous. This is definitely not like a one-sided fight. You know, I don't look at this fight and go,
No.
"Oh, Devin's definitely going to win," or
50-50.
"Mike is definitely going to win." This fight can definitely go in either direction, 150%. And they even got some of his teammates still in over at Victory saying that this is the best that he's ever seen Devin right now. So great things. We're already hearing good things out of the camp. So it sounds like the camp is doing really well.
Yeah, this fight's gonna be crazy. You know, I watching clips of these guys, or the whole videos really of these guys fighting, and then creating a video, watching Devin train. I really realized how elite of a striker Devin Watkins is for his age in his fights, not just at practice, in his fights, and then how technical Mike LaFay is on the ground. Something that Devin Watkins does so well that, every amateur could do better at is keeping his hands up. He keeps his hands up so well, and because he's so consistent in his stands, his strikes are always so good because he's not striking from different spots all the time. And it's just really clean striking. It's really powerful striking. I mean, he's got knockouts. We're not talking TKOs. And he's got TKOs too, but he's got knockouts. And, if you want to do some MMA math for fun, I like to do MMA math. Michael Fay beat Quintel Brooks. Quintel Brooks beat Devin Watkins. I'm going to put air quotes on that because that was a split decision fight. It was very, very close. Honestly, Norm, still to this day, I don't know who I actually have winning that fight. I really think that was probably one of the better split decisions in Cage Thunder history in terms of, it really could have went either way. But still, yeah, I think it shows something to the extent that, if Mike LaFay was able to submit this striker that beat Devin Watkins in a 3-round fight, that's something. But it's also Devin Watkins was 18 years old fighting a 30-year-old. That's another thing to also look at when you look at that past fight. So it's pretty crazy. It's really exciting. It's going to be a great fight. Both guys are deserving of being champion, but only one can walk out with the belt. So
yeah, Mike LaFay, definitely a very smooth ground technician. It's everything that he does on the ground is smooth.
It's clean.
He's thinking
technical.
Yeah, he's thinking 3 steps ahead when he's on the ground, and makes for a dangerous fighter. I've sparred with Devin. I know exactly how good of a technical striker he is for his age. How hard he actually hits. So I'm excited. I'm excited for a fight like this, man. I can't wait to see Devin and Mike throw down, and I honestly think whoever wins this fight, we're gonna see him in December too. I really hope we do.
Correct. Yeah, we got to.
Before we get into the pro card, I just want to make some honorable mentions. Fighters that I'm personally looking forward to seeing. Nico Dor. I'm looking forward to seeing him fight. Nate LaRocco. I'm actually looking forward to seeing Scott Heim and Cody Michaels back into the Cage Thunder cage as well. Yeah, that's it. Getting into the pros. We got four pro fights. Let's talk about KO Butler, my boy. KO Dorns. What up, Dorns? You watching? No, I was playing. KO Butler versus William Connor Jr. Both pros, not necessarily the start that they had hoped for, I imagine.
No, probably not.
KO currently sitting at 1-3. William Connor Jr. currently sitting at 2-4. KO, man. Key to success for this fight for him, I told him this already, is definitely Patience, consistency, and don't be too conservative. You know, like I know it's kind of a contradiction with patience and but don't be too conservative, but like he knows what I'm talking about. Like KO has a very bad habit. Like the older, I don't know if it's like the older that he got, the less aggressive that he got in a way. I guess that happens to some of the best of us. You know, you can't just go out there like you're 20 years old and just balls to the wall, swinging for the fences, trying to knock everybody out. He's kind of developed into a little bit more of a technical brawler, a technical striker. And he's really trying to add wrestling and ground to his game. And that was kind of always like the key part of his game that he was missing was like that strong ground game. You know, like I feel like if he had his wrestling was better and his ground game was better, he would have beaten guys like Chase over one of the Cage Thunder events. I can't remember what Cage Thunder event one was, but he would have been able to get out of that bad situation that he was in. He would have been able to out wrestle Christian Eccles. You know, he would have been able to get out of certain moves where he got popped in his he got knee barred in one of his fights when he fought Billy Bailey in Alabama. I think it was AFC. KO is a very heavy hipped guy and on the ground. It's actually really deceiving. Like he's hard to move. So when he gets you down, and that's why I was like, man, we really needed to add that wrestling to his repertoire, because he's so heavy hip that like when you pull him into your guard, he is so difficult to move. His legs, dude, are like, his legs are fucking huge. First off, his legs are huge. He's got strong legs. He's got fat ankles. And that's an inside joke, but and he's heavy, man. He's a heavy body. He's got a lot of muscle. His muscle is not dense, it's heavy. So when he's on top of you, he's hard to friggin' move. Okay, and he's strong. He's a hard striker. But in some of his past fights, he's been too conservative. He was I don't want to say he was afraid to pull the trigger, but he kind of just held back. Maybe just held back a little too much. You know, the best example that I can use as far as that goes was when he lost a decision to Braden Liggett. I commentated that fight, and I remember like saying the whole show, I was like, KO needs to get inside. He needs to break through the bubble. He needs to get inside. He needs to put him in the phone booth. And he just wasn't doing it. Braden was really utilizing good footwork during that fight. He was keeping his distance because Braden is longer. He's taller. He's got longer arms. He's a boxer. So he was really keeping him at distance. And KO had a problem closing that distance. And that's where I think clinch control, good wrestling would have really paid out. But it almost like KO didn't strike. He didn't capitalize on the opportunity to take advantage of that. And then when he did fight somebody where he was really confident that he was going to go in there and fucking smash, right? He fought Nick Atkins and he fucking knocked him out in the second round, like 15 seconds. You know, he was aggressive, and that was the KO that we were used to seeing back when he made his debut, and then he first started fighting back in 2014. So that's, you know, this is the KO. I want to see that KO again. I want to see aggression. I want to see consistency. I want to see you get into this guy's face, and I want to see you put him down. That is the KO that I want to see going into this fight. But he is running into a wall with William Connor Jr. I mean, this guy, you know, he's not a pushover. He's not a pushover at all. I mean, he's fought some dudes. He's fought we just talked about Dylan Booker. He's fought Dylan Booker. He lost to Dylan, but he lost by unanimous decision.
Back when Dylan was a heavyweight, I believe. So
he fought like Blake Kellogg, but who the fuck hasn't, right? That guy. But yeah, man. I mean, you look at it and you go, let's you know, we got to get aggressive. And that's my key to a success with KO. It might be a little critical, might be too critical, but I'm really good friends with KO. And this is everything that I would have said to his face. If I haven't already said it to him, I would say it to him. It's nothing that you know, it's no secret that this is how I feel about KO's fighting style and how he fights in general. It's not a diss. I'm not saying anything bad about him, his camp, his coaching, his training, nothing like that. It's just that's the KO. I want to see the KO from old. What are your keys to success, and what do you see with his opponent, William Connor?
Yeah, so for KO, I mean, your weaknesses, well, one of your weaknesses play to your advantage in this fight. You're fighting, you've struggled on the ground. You know, you've got choked out, you've gotten locked up. William Connor doesn't win on the ground. He hasn't won on the ground since his second amateur fight, in terms of submission wise. So you're fighting a guy who looks for knockouts and TKOs, which means hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, I'm not giving awful advice, but hopefully, you shouldn't have to worry too much about a ground threat versus a guy like William. You're just going to have to worry about being the guy that gets the knockout and TKO first.
Yeah,
The only problem.
stylistically,
Yeah, the only problem.
stylistically, it's fantastic for KO too. I mean, stylistically, it's fantastic for William Connor as well because both guys on paper like to bang, they like to strike, you know. And then some of the fights that he's lost, William Connor has been submissions. You know, if you look at decisions and submissions, I mean, if you kind of look through his record, I mean, he lost to Daryl Booker in 30 seconds by strikes, but I mean, he's lost by let me see, let's take a look here. I mean, he's won by a key lock, but that was the second amateur fight back in 2017. But yeah, knockout, TKO.
And what I like about
Yeah,
William
it's-
Connor too, and he's got good cardio. He will knock you out at the end of the third round. He'll wait until the end of the round to finish. He'll wait till the later rounds to finish you. You don't even see that in the UFC all the time necessarily. Guys that are late bloomers. So that means, you know, the one thing you got to worry about if you're KO is you can't let your guard down if you don't finish him right away. You know, don't assume this guy's tired because he's not. I promise you, he's not. So yeah, it should be the stylistic wise, it leans to KO. William Connor though is no joke. He's knocking people out. He's big, so it'll be a very exciting fight, no doubt.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good fight.
It's actually such a good fight to open the pro fights. Like, this is a good pro fight to set the scene for the next three. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. It's a great professional fight to open up the professional fights. Both guys currently riding a losing streak, KO with 1, William Connor with 2. So someone's going to get back into that win column. Moving on, we are looking at Walter Saisavan and David Richardson. So this is kind of your boy, man. You love Walter.
I do.
You do.
Well, you know, I like Walter for, well, no, his fighting style and more personal style. First off, he was like one of the first fighters I ever got to interview when I started working at Cage Thunder, and I remember I'm interviewing him. He's like shadow boxing the camera, which like so great. Fighters do this. Like, if I'm interviewing you, like, sell yourself, look cool, you know. And he did that. And he came out and won, and he's good. Not only, you know, these things, he's a very good fighter. He had a great amateur career. You know, his last fight over Dom John to win the belt, actually. He won the belt for Cage Thunder in that fight, I believe, at 16. And that was at Dom's peak. Like, and not to say he's hit his peak in his amateur career, but I'm saying, like, at that moment, that was the best Dom we had seen yet. You know, he had just, like, dominated Kyle very surprisingly, and then went on, you know, to fight Walter, and yeah, it was cool. Or I'm not sure if that was before or after, but either way, it was a very good Dom. But Walter looked good, and the thing with Walter that is just so good for him right now is he's at Strong Style Fight Team, and I'm not going to say he's at Strong Style Fight Team and Stipe is at No. I'm saying he's at a gym where there's a lot of good guys, not just Stipe. There's a lot of good guys right now, and they all want to see each other exceed. And in that, like, what I hear from up there and guys I talk to that train there, it's like they are so high on Walter. They think he can. The sky's the limit for him. The only thing that, like, worries me about Walter is he early in his amateur career, he was TKO and knocking people out. And then, like, he kind of got a little conservative, and it was almost like too conservative. I remember in that Dom John fight, it looked like he was just going to win by decision, which is fine. If you think you can win all 3 rounds. There was a couple times I'm like, dude, if you just like let go a little bit, you might beat him. But I love the conservative style if that's what works for him. Not only that, but it's been over a year since he fought. So and he's fighting David Richardson, who has made his pro debut this year and looked really, really good all 3 rounds. Looked really, really good all 3 rounds. So this is a guy that you're not going to get an easy decision with at all with David Richardson. So it's going to be a really good fight.
Yeah, Walter. I remember when Walter made his debut, man. I remember like the first thing I thought was like, man, this guy is long. He is tall for his weight class, and I knew he was going to have a very successful amateur career. And yeah, like you're saying, it had nothing to do really with where he was training. I think he could have trained anywhere and still been just as successful. But just being with Strong Style definitely has increased and has upped his potential. He does have a lot of good guys that he's consistently training with. And yeah, you're right. He's not in there, putting in rounds with Stipe, probably. Who knows? He might. We're not there. But no, yeah, you're right. I did see like how like this first couple fights were win by punches, and then as he kind of slowly goes up, he's winning. He lost a split decision, and then he started winning by decisions. And that might just be a complacency thing. It might be an experience thing. It might just be an up.
Right.
Maybe they increased the level of competition, and it was just harder fights. But I always knew that Walter was going to be soon. Like I still say this too. I think that we're going to see Walter on the contendership series. Within the next 3 or 4 fights, I think that we see him. I really do see. I see him on the contendership series 100%. He's definitely going to be one of those fighters from Strong Style that is going to go in there and put on a show in the UFC one day. David Richardson, what really stands out to me, yeah, he is 1-0 as a professional, but I mean, his last amateur fight, he won a split decision against Mateo Gardner. Mateo is the number 1 ranked, he's the number 1 ranked amongst Ohio pro middleweights.
Yeah.
He's ranked 4th in Kentucky. He's ranked 7th in Pennsylvania. I mean, he's ranked 32 overall in the Northeast and pro middleweights.
Mateo also lost to Dom John, if I remember that correctly.
Yeah, he did.
So, MMA math.
Yeah,
so fun.
But yeah, it's a reputable win, and that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make is that he ended his amateur career not against some fucking nobody. He didn't take the easy way out. He didn't fight some trash can stepping stone that was going to pad his record and then he was going to make his pro debut and then get completely destroyed. No, he actually fought and beat a reputable fighter in Mateo Garner, and then makes his pro debut later in the same year, just a few months after he wins his last amateur fight, and Tristan Scarborough, and he wins by unanimous decision in the ECC. And, he's ready.
Correct.
This guy is a game opponent. I definitely think that Walter is going to go in there and have the height and the reach advantage. But, I mean, look at this guy. This guy looks jacked. This guy looks big.
Yeah, he's got big traps.
Yeah, he's standing at 5'10". What's Walter? 6 foot?
4, 5.
Yeah,
he's tall.
He's a tall guy. He's 6'4", listed as 6'4", as a tall guy. And and this fight's going to be taking place at middleweight too. So yeah, he's a tall middleweight. I mean, it's not uncommon to see middleweights. Don't get me wrong. At 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". It's not, it's not rare, but it's it's not a common thing that you see a lot of guys at middleweight fighting at that length too. And I actually think Walter can get down to welterweight, to be honest. I think that he can make that cut and fight there if he really wanted to. But I am really excited. I think this is a great fight for Walter. But I think it's also a great fight for David Richardson as well. I think it can go either way. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm glad that Strong Style is coming out to represent. Moving up, we got Brogan Andres versus Miles Robinson. This is a good fight. This is a good fight for Brogan. to really test himself and really put himself through the meat grinder. This is by no means an easy fight. I'll be honest, sometimes I look at this fight and I go, why? Why was, like, you know what I'm saying? But then, as a fighter, you go, fuck it, why not?
Right.
Like, why not take this fight, man? I mean, you got Miles Robinson, who's sitting on a 3-0 record as a professional welterweight, and then you got Brogan Andrews sitting at 2-1 as a professional welterweight. Brogan is a good ground guy. He's a strong wrestler. He's a good judo artist. He's good on the ground, and then you got Miles Robinson. You got a name. And like, why not? Brogan goes in here and he beats Miles. That is a big name to have on your resume moving forward as a professional. So what do you like about this fight?
I want to give you something that you haven't thought about, Norm.
Okay.
I want to give everybody something they haven't thought about. I'm not going to, I want to bring something new to the table here. Brogan is somebody who had a fast rise, very, very good, fights out of Route 250. Very good gym. He's one of the bigger guys there. He's one of the veteran leaders at that gym, even though he's only been fighting for 6-7 years maybe. So very good. His coach is fighting in the main event.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to be in his corner? Because Miles Robinson is probably the biggest prospect at Immortal. I'm not surprised if I see a Matt Brown, a Mark Holman, or a Josh Piera of types in Miles's corner come Saturday. Miles is going to have, his coaches, and not only his coaches, some of the best in the state of Ohio. Whereas Brogan, I'm not sure maybe he'll have Hunter Watt, which in that case, great. Hunter's one of the best fighters in the state of Ohio. So
I was about to say
that's awesome.
Probably gonna look at Hunter and Ben White. I was gonna fucking say Ben Smith just to mess with him, but no, Ben White.
But
definitely probably gonna be in the corner.
yeah, but it'll be very interesting to look at that. And I'm not really too worried about Brogan in terms of this fight. I think he took the fight, so he's ready for the fight. He knows what he's getting himself into. At least I hope he does. Miles, from what I understand from Miles, which I love Miles Robinson. I've wanted to meet him for a while. I've watched a lot of his fights, so I'm a big fan. But one thing I know about Miles is he's expecting a call. He's expecting a call. I don't know from who. UFC, LFA, PFL. I don't know. But he's expecting a call. He wanted to fight in his home state of Ohio one more time. He's saying, I'm going to win this fight. Let me get one more fight, and then that way my family and my friends that are all here can watch me fight before I got to go big. That's what I hear. I don't know. But if that's true, I hope there's not a mentality where he's going into this fight and thinking, I already got this. I'm already going to win it. Because Brogan is the kind of guy that will catch you. But at the same time, it's like I really have to nitpick my criticisms of Miles because they're so little. He really is that good. So it'll be really exciting to watch this fight. But there's a lot of confidence out of Route 250 of Brogan as well. We were just there, Norm, last week. Mm-hmm. And like when you have your coach who's fighting in the main event and you are fighting in the co-main event and you guys are training partners and you've been training for the same date, it's, that's also something really good. So it's going to be a really exciting fight. I'm super excited that Miles is coming to Cage Thunder. That's really cool for us as a promotion, I think. He's such a nice guy. He's a really good fighter. And then as for Brogan, he's been very loyal to Cage Thunder throughout his career, back and forth with us. It'll be really exciting to see this fight. And I'm very interested who will be in the corners of each of these fighters.
Yeah, I've watched Brogan. I was there when he made his debut, back in 2018 when he fought Gary Lee Jr. I was there, Cage Thunder 3, 20 shows ago, so like, again, he was one of those guys, and again, this is what I love about the sport, especially doing what we do in Northeast Ohio, and getting to see these up and comers, these amateurs that are making their debut. Because yeah, we start off with, man, we don't know who the fuck you are, to, hey, this is Brogan Endres. I watched this guy make his debut. What, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fights later, he's fighting for his fourth professional fight now. Actually, that 10 amateur fights. He's got 3 professional fights. And he has a good like amateur resume. He has fought guys. He's fought Braden Liggett, Damone Hawkins, Chase Boyd, Melvin Harris. He has fought some. He has fought some good guys. He is one of those fighters that is really hard on himself. And I want to say when he beat Darren Williams, I think it was Darren Williams. I remember this because he won by unanimous decision. But he was so angry with his win. He barely wanted to talk about it. Because I remember I went to congratulate him. And I was like, hey, man, congratulations. Great win. He's like, I don't want to freaking talk about it.
And he beat him on a 4-fight win streak.
Yeah, like, it was... He didn't even want it. He wanted nothing. Yeah. He thought that his performance was terrible. He was very hard on himself, which makes for, better training, harder training, critiquing. He really takes that to heart, So, he is a good fighter, and I do think that Miles Robinson is going to probably start this fight fast. There's no reason not to, right?
He knocks everybody out in the first round, Norm. Not only in his pro career, in his amateur career. He does not go past the first round. It's like very, very, very rarely do you see him go past the first round. That only means one thing. He wants to finish it quick. So if you can stop him, if you can prevent yourself from getting knocked out and stop him, that you're putting yourself in an advantage right there already, because now you're sending him to decision. And it's also crazy because the one thing that, styles, let's talk about styles now, the thing that, everybody can talk about. We haven't really seen Brogan on the ground too much. Miles on the ground.
I was about
to
say,
we haven't Brogan really. Miles knocks everybody out in the first round. He doesn't go to the ground often. You don't see this. You've seen it one time. And he lost. He got rear naked choked. Brogan, on the other hand, is training with Judo Jesus, where he is on the ground, and he's looked good on the ground. So stylistically, actually, Brogan maybe has an advantage, but you could also argue it the other way, where we really haven't seen Brogan, unleash the hand since his amateur career, whereas Miles has been doing it consistently every single fight. So,
yeah, I mean, you look at it too, Brogan he started training wrestling and judo at a young age. I want to say 6 or 7 years old. So he's definitely really consistent. He has a lot of knowledge. But then, yeah, you look at Miles Robinson's professional start, and you look at it, and he's fought an 0-3, 0-0, 1-0. And yeah, all 3 of those wins were in the first round. The first fight was in the round 2. He won in 12 seconds in round number 2. But then his last fight, he won by punches in 37 seconds of round number 1. Yeah, so he has a very impressive amateur record. He has a very impressive professional record. And you're right, man. This is one of those. I do think, though, that this is probably the hardest opponent that Miles Robinson is going to fight to date. And again, you don't want to take easy fights. He's doing the right thing. And I think Brogan's doing the right thing, too. You're not looking for easy fights. If you're going to fight, you fight the best. Mm-hmm. So, when you win, it feels that much better. And he, so I'm really curious. Let's see if Brogan has what it takes to stop Miles Robinson in his tracks on his way up.
Yeah, it'll be really crazy. If Brogan, if he came out and knocked him out. Brogan's come out and knocks out Miles Robinson. That's gonna be that'd be insane.
I think statistically, if you were a betting man, I think that. And this is not a knock to Brogan, but
no.
Statistically, if Brogan goes, that's like a 1 in 1,000 chance of happening. I think for Brogan to just come out and do. I mean, seriously though, but that would be if you were a betting man, those are some odds.
That's plus 5,000.
let's move on to our main event.
Let's talk about it.
Definitely, let's talk about our main event here. Andrew Law versus Julian Lane. Andrew Law, a local legend in Ohio, man, and fought the who's who. It's so funny too because he's only got like 2 amateur fights, and, and he went 1-1, and it was just like, I mean, unless he had more unsanctioned that are just not registered on the website, but he went straight into pro and he just racked up a pretty, impressive professional career. And we were actually talking about it when we were up there doing his interview and doing his highlights and stuff like that. We were talking about his win streak that he was on. He was on a 7-fight win streak, and he was basically like he was on it. They said, "Hey man, win your next fight, and you're getting the call. Like you're moving up." And he fought Aaron Highball, and I'm very vocal about this. I'm not trying to be biased about it, but I really do think that Law won that fight. He lost by unanimous decision, which is insane to me. If it would have been a split decision, I guess it could have been a little bit more justifiable. I just don't see how Andrew lost that fight. And I know that's one of his fights that he really it's in here. It was in here for a long time. So this is a really big fight for Andrew, and he's looking good. He made the joke. He's like, man, you guys will come up when I feel like shit or I look like shit, or he's got to recover, man. He's an old man just like me. We gotta spend more time on recovery than training.
He's actually the younger fighter in his fight, though.
Yeah, no, 100%. And this fight was supposed to happen years ago, man, and he gave you a little bit of insight on why that fight didn't happen. You want to elaborate?
Yeah, he got injured the week of the fight. It's like worst case scenario, he got injured. So the fight did not end up happening because at that point Julian was on a hot streak. So Julian just kept going, and Andrew had to be injured. So yeah, this fight, Norm, it's crazy. It's like weird. And I hope nobody gets mad at me. When I first saw it, I was like, that's cool. But I wasn't super I don't know, excited. I don't know why. I wasn't. Doing research on these fighters, creating promo videos where if you watched the Andrew Law Julian Lane promo video, I watched every fight that you can find on the internet of this dude and making that video. I mean, you see a transformation of him from baby face, no hair. Now he's long hair, beard. And then as for Julian, I think what got me the most excited is I knew who Andrew Law was as a fighter, and I knew who he was in that aspect. Julian Lane was a name that I really didn't know too much of fighting wise. And when you look on paper, it's not like he's had the craziest pro career you've ever seen, but it's actually such a lie. His L's that he has are the biggest lies because this dude Julian Lane is a very, very good striker, and more specifically a brawler. And what I mean by he's a good brawler is he's a controlled brawler, because a bad brawler is somebody who's a street fighter. They're gonna is he's not like that. He's a controlled, I'm going to brawl, kind of like Sean Strickland fighting this weekend. But why watch that fight? Sean Strickland, Israel, we all know Israel's going to win. Go watch Cage Thunder, where you're going to watch Julian Lane versus Andrew Law. You have no clue who's going to win. Get some actual, anticipation for something exciting. It's Julian's had a really, a good career despite all the losses. I mean, he lost to Mike Perry, who will probably go down in the end of his career as the best bare knuckle fighter of all time. And by the way, one of his toughest opponents in BKFC to date. So for me, a lot of people know Julian Lane. Let me bang, bro. Let me bang. They know him as the meme. And by the way, he promotes himself as the meme. It's the best. Julian, let me bang, bro, Lane. That's his literal nickname. It's awesome. But I knew the meme, but I was I didn't know the fighter. He's really a good fighter, and the thing that just excites me the most is when I talk to Andrew Law, and I don't know if I even put it in the video or not. When I talked to Andrew Law, he told me that this is like the start of his career. He's like, I feel like I'm at the beginning of my career right now, Alex. He's like, I don't think I want to retire after this fight. I mean, who knows? But it's like, I feel like I just want to keep fighting. He's like, I've never felt better. And when I hear that from Andrew, who, when you start calling somebody a legend, an Ohio MMA legend means, well, they wore. And Andrew's like, no, I am. I still am fighting, and I'm still creating my legacy, and that's a lot to fight for. And it's almost actually Julian is fighting for his legacy, and Andrew's almost fighting for his legacy. So it's kind of a very interesting thing. So yeah, it's really exciting to watch this fight. Norm, I'll let you kind of talk about the styles of this fight because I know you've watched Andrew a little longer than I have.
Yeah, I mean, stylistically, I got Julian Lane is obviously going to dominate more than Andrew stand-up wise. Andrew's coming in as the taller fighter. He's definitely got the reach advantage. Julian stylistically is going to need to, I think he's going to start the fight. If I were to guess, I would say that Julian is probably going to start the fight kind of like a bare knuckle boxing fight. He's going to close the gap. He's going to get close. He's going to, good head movement. He's going to try to strike. I think Andrew is going to need to get him in a clinch relatively quick, and before he gets pressed up against the cage, and Julian just tries to create a little bit of distance and starts teeing off. I think if Andrew is able to successfully get the clinch and get a good clinch in and maybe hit a good throw or a good takedown, I think he's going to be able to weather this storm. I think Julian's going to start the fight fast. It's just a thought. It's what I would do if I was Julian and I was fighting somebody who had a very reputable ground game and a reputable judo game. Andrew Law is very comfortable on the ground, but Andrew is a very resilient guy, as is Julian. We'll get to that too. But Andrew is a very resilient guy. He went through a war with his last fight. I mean, both guys were bloody. I mean, and Andrew really showcased his striking as well in that fight. And but he had him on the ground for majority. Andrew was really good at getting you to the ground. If he can get Julian to the ground, I think that Andrew is going to be able to, kind of control the fight. Now, Julian's wrestling is very, very under. What am I thinking of here?
Underrated.
Underrated. There we go.
Julian has more submission wins on his career than decisions or knockouts, and it's not even close. Actually, he's got 6. He's got 6 wins, 3 in the first round. This is Andrew I'm talking about. Julian has 7 submissions wins in his career, more than his knockouts, more than his decisions. He's got 7 submissions, 4 first round subs, 1 in the second, and 2 in the third. So Julian, when he's in MMA, is actually submitting people way more than he is striking. The difference is, Norm, he hasn't fought MMA necessarily in a while.
And that's what I'm thinking. I know he's probably training in it. And he's probably really focusing on at least I would. If I was fighting someone like Andrew, I'd be really focusing on my ground game and at least wrestling and trying to prevent from being taken to the ground. Again, that's what I would do, and that's what I would be training for. Knowing that Andrew is a reputable fighter on the ground, I would definitely be working on my takedown defense and my ground defense and make sure that if I am taken down, that I'm able to transition out of it. Julian is built like a shit brick house. He's shorter than Andrew, but he is so strong. I want to say he's probably stronger than Andrew. It's hard to tell just because Andrew is taller and longer, so he has leverage. He has that leverage, so he's gonna be able to know if he gets him to the ground and sinks in the hooks, it's gonna be a very hard time for Julian, I think, to get out of it. And I really hope that his time in bare knuckle didn't take away diminish his wrestling ability, so to speak. I really hope it didn't.
So, yeah,
So,
Julian's last fight in MMA was 2022 to Austin Hubbard. If you don't know who Austin Hubbard is, he literally just fought in the UFC less than a month ago. He won, like, I think he was an Ultimate Fighter 2 guy. Like, hey, he won, or yeah, he fought a couple times in Ultimate Fighter, and then he lost in the UFC, but he fought in the UFC. That's the point. So his last fight was in his last MMA fight, he lost to a guy who fights in the UFC. Andrew's not fighting in the UFC. So there's obviously something to look there. Not that Andrew couldn't fight in the UFC, of course. But that was his last loss, and it was 2 decisions. So he showed that he could go all the rounds. I haven't really watched the fight because I couldn't find it very easily. But, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. The thing is, though, it's like, from what I've seen with him in BKFC, he can rely on his striking if he wants to. It's really good. So even if he's not up to par on the ground to where he used to be or wants to be, he can still be all right on the feet.
yeah, 100%. And like I said, Julian is he can take a punch. You know, unless he secretly cracked his jaw or something, and he's just not able to take a punch anymore. I mean, that's one thing that we've seen him in bare knuckles, his ability to take damage in a sport where it's literally just taking damage. You know, blunt force trauma to your face and your head. So I think that I want to say that it's going to be difficult for Andrew to inflict that kind of damage on the stand up that Julian hasn't already seen before. You know what I'm saying? Like Julian has fought guys with better striking. So, like I said, MMA math and doing it in my head and just guessing and speculating, like I said, I think that it's in Andrew's best interest to get him to the ground as quickly as possible and really start trying to tax his cardio, testing his cardio, seeing how his wrestling held up, and that's what I would do. I mean, I mean, the guy just fought bare knuckles, so you want to think like, hey, he's a good striker, and this is what he's been doing. Let's see how his ground game is. You know, get him to the ground, see how he's transitioning, see how his cardio holds up, and it's gonna really tell. Like, you know, I think that we're gonna find out how this fight is gonna go in the first minute.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So I'm really curious. You know, Andrew might go in here and go, you know what? Fuck it. You know, fuck Norm. I'm gonna strike with him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna prove him right. I'm gonna stand right in his face, and I'm gonna punch him right in his nose. I mean, who knows? We don't know, and that's why I am super excited to see this fight. I'm really curious. As an MMA fan and Northeast Ohio, this is a great fight. You know, and you know, something that I'm excited about doing too is joining you guys on the commentary desk this show, man. You know, I started this in media, in commentary as well. So I'm really excited to be the middleman. You know, you're going to be sitting to my left. Brandon Billiter is going to be sitting to my right. Technical commentator here, color commentator here, and I've always been an analyst.
Yeah.
You know, it's just kind of what I do with local fighters. And I actually commentated Andrew Law's fight against Mickey Marsak. So I actually think I commentated his fight against Reggie Merriweather as well. So it's I didn't have the opportunity to commentate as Aaron Highball, but I'm really excited to get back in there and commentate another Andrew Law fight. This is kind of like a big deal too, man. I'm really excited to get back into the commentary scene as well. So,
Yeah. Hey, who do people have winning? If you're in here in the chat, if you made it this far, who do you have winning? Who's your fighter? Who are you watching? Let us know before we close out. But yeah, I'm excited to commentate this fight. There's a lot of good fights on this card, Norm, that I'm looking forward to. There's not really a bad pro fight. They're all like, not only are they like good pro fights, they're like great pro fights. So, you know, definitely buy the pay-per-view, get your tickets, because you're going to get your money's worth and some. with this card. And there's also a lot. Sometimes my favorite part, Norm, honestly, is watching these 0-0 guys fight and watching their careers grow, because that's the champions. That's the Devin Watkins. Like, watching his first fight, now I'm watching him fight for a belt. So it's really cool to watch the growth. Same with you and Andrew. You know, you've been watching Andrew forever. Now you're watching him in the main event versus Julian Lane in a fight that should have happened a long time ago. So very excited. We see
we
see
got
some
we got some people. We got Matthew saying Law. We got Brandon saying they got Devin, Malcolm, and Julian. So
parlay, little parlay piece right there.
You know, hell yeah, man. And during the show, make sure to check out. No, he said not Law by sub. But during the show, make sure to check out the Instagram and head up our social media platforms. Give them a like. We'll also be doing like live. You know, you will be doing live predictions, and it was really successful in the last show, and I think it's gonna be
lot.
I think it's gonna be even better on this one. Join us if you can't make it this Saturday, September 9th at 7 p.m. at the Chaparrals Event Center in Akron, Ohio. You can also get the pay-per-view at CagedThunderMMA.com. You're going to want to go to that website, go to pay-per-view, live stream, buy the pay-per-view there. It will start on that same tab, in the menu tab, at 7 p.m., roughly 7 p.m. on Saturday. I get to, we get to hang out with the pros on Friday for weigh-ins, and then we get to meet everybody else on Saturday for the amateur weigh-ins as well. We do want to give another shout out to our sponsors: Bud Light, Detailed Image and Design, Crow's Auto Body, Mr. Drywall, Ada's Calf, National Beauty College, Rubber City Production, Big Dog Boxing Club, and Commercial Cleaning Enterprises. I look forward to seeing you guys this Saturday. If you see me at the show, please come up and say hi.
Autographs, $10. Norm's charging autographs now.
Come up and say hi. Tell me that I suck. Tell me I'm fat. Tell me you don't like me. I don't give a shit. Interact with me, man. I love talking to you guys, and I love talking to everybody. Just don't talk shit about my legs. So.
True. They're small, small little legs.
All right, guys. Thanks you for joining us. And
thank you, guys.
Until next time, man. Take it easy.
Peace out.
Saturday, September 9th, Cage Thunder 23 presents Andrew Wall versus Julian Lane.